Hello and welcome to another episode of On the Floor with Wayne and Rob. I'm Wayne Highlander, Director of Sales for Bona Adhesives.
And I'm Rob Johnson from the Bona Training.
All right, Rob, how we doing?
Pretty good, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. This is my favorite time of year with March Madness, man, and I haven't got to see a single game yet. And my team got bounced out in round one, and they were like, they were like one of the big, most elite teams in the business, Kentucky. And they got beat by a 16 seed or 14 seed. I think it was a 14 seed by an old man shooting threes. I think the guy hit 10 3-pointers. And the dude is like 27 years old, I think. I mean, he's at the age that most NBA players retired. So, yeah.
I think North Carolina got bounced last night. Brackets are blowing up all over the place.
All over the place, man. Yep, sir. All right, we have a special guest with us today, Rob. You want to introduce our guest and tell everybody what the show is going to be about?
Yeah, well, this is just this is part 2 of our ongoing series on education. And today we have with us Careen Ricks. Careen, how long you been with Bona now?
I've been with Bona 25 years now.
Oh, man.
Long time.
I'm an old timer now.
You are an old guy. Yeah, exactly.
See the gray in the beard with the rest of us.
Just a little bit of wisdom.
Nice. And Careen, why don't you tell everybody, because today's, like I said, it's our ongoing series on education. And today we're going to be talking about machine maintenance, machine upkeep. And like I said, that's why we have Careen on, because Careen is our lead instructor at the Bona Machine Schools, where he trains distributors who become is it licensed Bona?
We call it certified mechanics.
Certified mechanics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So what we do is we're certifying distributor repair guys, teaching them how to troubleshoot, diagnose, and repair our sanding equipment. And once they successfully complete it, they should know what they're doing and be able to get out there and tackle whatever job somebody brings to them.
How long have you been doing that?
We rebooted the program about 2 years ago after Mike Rocha retired. Todd Schutte wanted to revamp this program, and he appointed me to do it since I have the background, the experience, and the knowledge. So he chose me.
You know, a lot of people will be surprised to know that with all my accomplishments, I'm not a very mechanical guy. I know that's going to shock a lot of people, but I'm not. I have these fishing poles, bait casters, right? And you can buy these really nice gears and put them in there to improve them. And I thought, I'm going to do this myself. And I watched it on YouTube. I took some pictures, watched it on YouTube. I got everything organized. I put towels down and everything. I took all the bait casters apart, right? Took everything apart and then looked at it. I sat there contemplating for about 20 seconds. And I put all the parts in a baggie and shipped them off to the manufacturer. So I don't need that in my life, man. I know my limitations. So I can't tell you what having a good machine guy. I mean, it is so important that machine is running like you want it to run. He just not only is it critical for the jobs to turn out right, but it just makes your day so much better when you have confidence in the piece of machinery that you're working on. You roll up to a 3,000 square foot job, and all the pressure and liability and everything that's on that job, to know that your machine is singing and it's doing it's you know what I mean. It's belts are right and everything is right and it's tuned up right and everything is a great feeling. So and I know you have some tips and techniques on how to keep those things running like that too. So it'd be great to hear some of those from you as well.
Definitely will do that.
So what do you do at the schools? How many days? Let's just go through the school to get started here.
Okay, so the school is basically designed for distributor repair guys only. It's nothing that a contractor can actually come to. But he can feel confident with the guys that we certify that he will get his machine repaired properly and will be running at optimal performance once he gets it back. And basically, the distributors will basically send their guy. If they get a new guy, they'll send him. If their current repair guy leaves and they get a new guy, they'll send him. And basically, all we do is just basically go over all the machines. I basically go over the most common issues to look for and to expect to see. And from there, then we'll get into more complex things on how to basically diagnose other ailments that the machine may have, so to speak. Also, what I do is I basically do a lot of hands-on. So I feel guys learn better hands-on than just being told information or reading information in a book. So it's really, really personal and hands-on. The classes are normally about 3 to 4 guys. We make it real intimate. So we don't have a large number of guys like the Sand and Finish School. This way, these guys can feel that they're getting the attention that they need. And I open it up for questions. And basically, we have a good time while we do it as well. So I make it kind of fun. Yeah, I make it fun and educate them at the same time.
Wow, that sounds just like our training, man. I always felt that people get a little bit more when they're having a little bit of fun.
Right, exactly. I definitely agree. I definitely agree. Make it more relaxed, a more relaxed setting.
Yeah, definitely. And I know, since COVID, when COVID hit and we were still trying to do some training, I mean, some of our schools were 6 or 8 guys, compared to 30 or 40 like
Right.
we used to have, pre-COVID. But, once we start to get out of it and get back into regular training, I was talking to our boss, D. Linston, and I said, those small classes, they were awesome.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
I felt people definitely got a lot more out of the smaller class. And it wasn't like we were saving a lot of time, because I think even so, the smaller classes sometimes take a little bit longer because we just got some great conversation going and some really good, feedback between the guys. And because I think it was smaller, more people were open to talking and asking questions. And sometimes you're in a crowd of 30 people, nobody wants to ask a question because they know I'm going to make fun of them for being so stupid. But with the smaller classes, it was definitely so. It's not that we've gone back to the huge classes that we used to have, but we've definitely taken a look at that and kind of scaled back on the size of the class, just because we felt smaller classes were definitely, guys were getting more out of it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. A little more engaging in that way.
Yeah. So, like you said, at your class, you go over some of your most common issues. What are some of the most common issues that you're seeing and you're teaching your guys?
Well, it depends on the machine. So let's take our most popular machine, for example, would be the power drive machine or the FlexiSand 240. The most common challenge we have with the power drive is most likely an electrical issue. The start cap and the run cap are what we replace the most on that machine. And like I said, it comes back to an electrical issue. The problem is a lot of guys tend to run those machines at the improper voltage, or they don't run it with a power station like we suggest. If you run it with a power station, you can eliminate a lot of these challenges that you guys do have in the field. If you don't run it with a power station, you're not sure what voltage you're getting out the wall, is what I always tell guys. Just think of it that way. You're blindly feeding your machine and you don't know what kind of power it's getting. So the best thing to do would be to run it with a power station.
Something. Sorry to interrupt you, Careen, but I got hit you with these thoughts while they come out, or I forget them.
Okay.
Where I was at, always the challenge for us was the lack of power. Like it didn't have enough power. And then I was up in Michigan talking to someone the other day, and he goes, "Man, the problems we see, the challenges that we're faced with is that too much power sometimes come through the wall. So I wasn't that like that. I was like, oh, that's a trip, because that was the opposite of what we had to deal with.
Right.
But you're right about that power, power booster, man. And that's a great point. That if you don't know, if you're blindly hooking that up, you don't know what's coming through that wall to your machine. You just don't know. That's a good point.
Exactly. And so I try to tell guys that just to give them a little bit of education. And so basically the caps are designed to go first, and then everything else should go afterwards. So like I tell guys, the worst case scenario, you'll burn a board. And even worse than that, you'll burn a motor, which I have seen. So I'm making my duty to definitely let these guys know. And that is one of the first questions I ask when they call me up and say they're having problems. First thing I ask is, are you running it with a power station? And some guys will say yes. And then the next question I will ask them is, what power are you running it at? When we first introduced the machine, it was a 220 volt motor on that machine. And I looked at it as a common, innocent mistake, because the machine came with the same cord that your big floor sander comes with. So naturally, a guy is going to think, oh, this is a 230 machine as well. So guys were burning up motors. So we went to the 240 motor to eliminate that problem. And if guys want to run it at 230 volts, they can. But the machine is a 240 machine now. So it is good to run it at 240 volts, especially if you're using our steel plates and weights. You definitely need to be around 240 volts to get that machine to perform properly. Otherwise, you're going to be limping through the job, popping breakers, having to let the machine cool off, and then have to restart again. And you're basically going to just make the job longer than it has to be. So that's one of the things that I harp on, is, to use these things with a power station.
Okay, so that was a great, that was my next question. What setting are we looking for on the power drive? And you're saying as close to 240 as we can get it.
Exactly. Yep.
For the power station. Excellent. Yep. All right, that's huge. That is absolutely huge, and I'm glad you said that, because at the schools I've been telling everybody 230. So now I know.
Idiot.
All right. 240. Hey, we don't gotta be calling names now.
I got like
is
this.
It really, isn't it a holy day or something?
It's like Tourette's.
It's a holy day.
I'm sorry.
Friday. Try to be a good Christian, for crying out loud. Just one
out.
day out of your life. All right?
Okay.
One day.
Man, I am so glad we're having you on, Careen. That's great information. I mean, we have so many power drives out there now, and this is really good information. And I know some people say, well, I don't want, buying a power booster is expensive, what have you. And I get it, man. I mean, I understand putting money out for tools, but for all your machines, keeping them healthy and everything is a great investment in the machinery and keeping the jobs going. That last bit you said was really good information.
That's huge, especially when, if you're working in a commercial application, usually the only draw you're getting out of commercial is like 208. So that's going to be really low if you're not running off of a power station. I know in a home, it's going to be a little bit higher than the 208, 220, 230. I mean, that's why I thought it's been always one of the great parts about the power station is it's not just a booster like you referred to it a couple of minutes ago. It's not a booster. That's old time. You're really showing your age now. All right.
Sorry. Wow.
This is a power station where we can dial up or dial down. You understand the difference, Wayne?
No, you're right. You called me on it, man, and
well, I was just looking for anything.
I hurt your feelings.
Yeah. Well, that's right. Sylvester Stallone. You drew first blood. Man,
all right. Yeah, you're right.
I thought this was just going to be nice. I didn't know that.
Well, technically,
holiest of days.
It's not tomorrow, isn't it? Isn't it tomorrow, the holiest day?
No, I think it's like a whole holy
Sunday
weekend. I think it started on Thursday.
All right. Okay. Now you tell me.
All right. So 240. So especially for you guys out there who are running commercial, restaurants. I mean, even in our RTCs, our training centers, when you're dialed on the power station in the middle, that's the true incoming. And you can see at most of our training centers, it's pretty low. It's coming in at 208, 210. So we always have to boost them up there. But that is, Careen, you just saved a ton of people a ton of headaches, I think, by telling everybody that. Thank you very much.
What can you do, Kareen? If I get this question from time to time, can I run it off a generator? Can I go buy a generator to run the machine off of? What would be your response to that?
Generally, what I tell guys, if they're going to run a machine off of a generator, they need a generator that is going to put out at least 25,000 kVAs.
Okay.
And that would basically get you through the job. Anything less than that, you'll probably have trouble starting the machine. And if you do get it started, it probably won't perform properly.
Okay.
So at least 25,000.
That's exactly what I tell them. So
you
just
wouldn't
want to
know
make sure.
KVA if it bit you in the fanny.
Okay, and next question is, what you get to a commercial building that has three-phase 208? What do you do in that scenario?
All of our machines are set up to be, are one-phase motors. Most of them, or the majority, actually all of them are. So if you run into something like that, I would suggest do not plug into it.
Okay, I told Rob the same thing. You know what I saw him doing on a job one time?
Oh, here we go.
What's that?
He hired a day laborer to hold the wires up to the things while he ran the machine. That's messed up.
Hey, he was at least grounded.
Hey, I that's right. Yeah, I was safe.
Yeah,
I was
there you
okay.
go. Yeah.
I was good to go.
Okay. What is routine maintenance you could do on the machines? Maybe blowing them out or whatever. Or we're talking about the belt. Did I step on your question, Rob?
No, go right ahead.
Okay. Because I could probably articulate it a little bit better. So I thought I'd
Of course you can. Yeah.
So like day-to-day routine maintenance at the end of the day or whatever for your belt sanders or whatever that would help the longevity of the machine run better and having less issues.
For the belt sander, generally what I tell guys is after they complete a job or they finish using the machine for the day and they're not going to use it anymore, one of the most common things I tell them is to release the tension on the belts. That is one of the things that I see a lot when guys bring their machine in. The tension is still on the belts. So I have to explain to them that after you use the machine, release the tension on the belts. That way, when the machine and the belts cool off, they can shrink back to their original size. If you leave that tension on the belt with the machine after you run the machine, everybody knows that heat, things expand, cold, things contract. So basically, if you leave that tension on the belt, once they cool, they develop that memory. And then what you'll find yourself getting into is every time you use that machine and your belts flop and you have to put a little more tension on them, you're going to find that you're raising that motor higher and higher. And then you're going to run out of adjustment, and then you're not going to get the machine to perform properly, and you're probably going to get chatter. So that's one of the things that I do tell guys is to release the tension on the belts. So that way, when they cool, they will contract back to their normal size.
Okay. Good
I'm
stuff.
gonna take that a little bit further too. I also tell guys to release the tension off of the sandpaper belt too, because that rubber, some of these guys run this machine 8, 10, 12, 14 hours. Right. That rubber gets pretty warm. Okay. Yeah, and if they keep the pressure on that belt overnight, it's going to cool. But if the pressure's still on there, it's going to cool with 2 flat spots.
Exactly.
On that drum. And because, I have got the call before, hey, I'm getting chatter. And I'm like, was it cold last night? Did you release tension? It'll start to go away. You probably only saw that tension in the first room. So, yeah, I love it. Releasing the tension on all the belts, sanding belts, and your driving vacuum belt. Perfect.
Exactly.
I would imagine, Rob, you're up in New York where it's cold up there. You deal with that quite a bit. The shrinkage, I would say, and I mean,
Religion just means
those-
nothing to you,
those-
does it?
those-
It just doesn't mean a damn thing, does it?
I'm trying to help you.
You're talking about shrinkage. You see what I mean, Careen?
Hey, I do.
Careen said right before he got on, he sent me a text. He goes, "Is this live?" I go, "Careen,
Oh God, no.
this thing was live.
Yeah.
Wayne and I'd have been fired years ago."
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. One of the greatest shows ever is going to be the On the Floor After Dark. All the outtakes of all the.
Every time though, Careen, I we'll have a podcast and I'll get done and I'll start thinking about it and I'll call Rob and go, I wonder if we should take out that thing I said about such and such. And no matter what it is, he goes, "Oh no, man, you're good. You're good. Yeah. Don't worry about it. It's fine. It's fine." Yeah.
Whatever I can do to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because you remember, Careen, Wayne's a little bit different than you and I, okay? Even though you've been here a long time, Wayne's a corporate stooge. He's a director, and once they throw director in front of your name, this is really the only time I'm allowed to talk to him.
Yeah.
Go through his agent.
Yeah, get authorization. Exactly. Hey, I got a question for you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say one more thing. Another thing that I also find is a lot of guys will need help when they bring their machine to us to get it out of the vehicle. And a lot of times I'll notice that they have the drum down as well. So I have to let them know about that too. Raise the drum, otherwise you're going to develop a flat spot, and then you're going to wonder why your machine is chattering. So that's just the last thing I wanted to add.
We got a bunch more we're going to ask you, man. A question that I get at the classes is, we plug our power station in right to the wall and we run a 50-foot cord. And, because we're working on the panels and everything, all the power and everything is right there. Right. And so what are you going to tell guys who say, "Hey, I got to run 150 foot from my power to the machine"? So what are you telling guys when they got to go that kind of distance?
Okay. So, I get this question as well. So what I tell guys is that the power cord that comes with your machine is the one you want to use on the machine to the power station. And I basically let them know you want the shortest amount of distance from your power station to your machine. And I get the question, well, what if I need to work upstairs, and I tell them, you still want the least amount of footage between the power station and your machine. Now, from the wall to the power station, you can run a mile worth of cord if you want to.
That's what I'm hearing. All right, perfect. Good. I feel good about that. That's what I've been telling everybody.
Yeah.
Because I've had a lot of different guys say, no, it's got to be this way. And I'm like, no, perfect. Good.
Yeah, because what guys don't realize is the longer the cord, you're going to get a voltage drop, So that's what I try to get them to understand. And it might read that it's giving you this much voltage, but I have to tell them that, once you start the machine, the amps are going to draw, and that's going to bring that voltage down. Once the machine gets to running speed, then the amperage levels out. Then it's going to the voltage is going to stay pretty consistent. And if you have too much cord, you're basically going to starve the machine for of power. So best to go ahead and just keep the least amount of footage, or at least the cord that came with the machine. Use that from the power station to the machine.
Perfect. Makes sense.
Excellent. What about guys' wheels? You see a lot of guys screwing their wheels up?
Yes, on the sander machines, definitely. They come in gummed with who knows what's on them from the outside or in their truck or whatever. So basically, a lot of guys will bring their machine in, and as you all know, we have travel dollies that we put on our machine to save your wheels on your machine. So a lot of guys will bring their machine in and don't have the travel dolly on it. So I basically let them know that this is going to protect your wheels, and you don't want to track that stuff on a new floor that you're sanding either. So I basically tell guys to, basically utilize the travel cart or travel dolly that comes with it. And that way you save your machines and you don't have to worry about scraping debris off your machines or tracking that debris on a brand new floor that you're sanding or a freshly sanded floor.
How about blowing the machines out? How often should the guys blow? You know, I imagine you get a lot of machines in there that when you go to blow them out, they've been like never blown out. You know, or
Oh yeah, look like pig pen jumped out of them.
yeah.
But yeah, so what I do is I basically tell guys, you know, after each job when they're done with the machine for the day, go ahead and blow it out. And I
Yeah.
also go as far as to let them know that if they do not have access to a compressor, bring it to me. I'll blow it out for free, you know,
Okay.
just to
Okay.
help them out a little bit. But yeah, I would suggest after every job, when they're done for the day using the machine, go ahead and blow it out real good.
So before you had mentioned the run cap and the start cap, or the start cap and the run cap, and you had mentioned caps. When you're saying caps, you're talking capacitors, right?
Correct.
Just so everybody out there knows. I know Wayne knows, but you remember he's a director.
Please. Yeah.
So yeah, he's still trying to figure out KVA. I know it. I can tell. I can see the look on his face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
220,
Stands for
221.
kilovolt amps.
220, 221.
Yeah.
What was that, Careen?
It stands for kilovolt amps.
What was I going to say? When you're, I mean, the rule was for us, especially later in my career, the more I knew, that our wheels were not touching the ground unless they were sanding. Even transporting the wheels, even bringing it into a job site, we didn't have it back in those days. We didn't have the dollies. We carried it. We broke the machine down, so we didn't go. I cringe when I see guys bringing the machines into a job site, rolling across a rough concrete or bricks or something like that. So you still think that's a good idea? You know, it makes you keep the wheels off the ground, even transporting when you're driving around. Because again, like I was in New York the other day, a family could live in some of them potholes, man, on the road. You hit them roads, man, it's brutal, and it just slamming them wheels back on the back of that van all the time. I just wouldn't want to take a chance.
You're supposed to serpentine. You serpentine around those, man. You got to be paying attention. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just don't drinking coffee. I mean, you got to You got to be zigging and zagging. You don't hit those things, man. Forget it.
No.
Yeah. One of the things
you got to remember too, Wayne.
I'm sorry, Careen. Hold on a minute, Careen. He's going to cut you off about 10 different times in this show.
Yeah, I interrupt everybody. That's my job.
It's his hearing.
Interrupt and keep going.
You don't hear real good.
Like Wayne, if I don't say it, I'm going to forget it. And I'm just sticking up for the real old guys now, okay?
It's all good.
Wayne said he never let the machine. Well, us old timers, all our wheels used to be steel. They were solid steel, man. They would, just crush anything that it ran over.
Right.
And you just kind of brush them off, and we never had to think about it. So I know there's a lot of old guys out there like myself that just ground them steel wheels and never thought twice about it. Now with the wheels that we have now, what are they? Neoprene, silicone? What are they?
They are, from what I understand, they're neoprene.
Neoprene?
Yeah.
Careen, just to clear this up, and not to belabor this, but your volume is probably about 5 or 6, like most people right now. His volume's on 25. That's why when he starts talking, he don't realize that you're talking too, because he can't hear. And when you talk to him in person, you have to talk into his left ear because he can't hear you otherwise.
I'm gonna have to remember that.
No, don't worry. I can hear. I just don't listen to him. I can hear
selective
everybody.
Hearing, huh?
Yeah, very selective. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
But you started to say about the wheels, keeping the wheels off the ground before he interrupted you for the 5th time.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I would still, if guys don't have a travel cart, then yeah, I would suggest that they do, if they can, carry the machine in to avoid messing up the wheels and stuff like that. So I definitely would suggest that they do that.
What about the brushes on edgers and stuff? How do you know? How often should you check the brushes and those type of things? If you can talk about that for a minute.
Generally, a good rule of thumb is probably every 80 to 100 hours of usage. Basically check them. The machine will let you know when the brushes are depleted because it will not run. You'll be able to turn the edger on and nothing will happen, but the light will come on. I get that a lot. You know, guys call up, you know, I started my edger, it doesn't run, but the light comes on.
Mhm.
And that's a good indication that the brushes are gone. And a lot of times when I have them check them, they go ahead and confirm that that is the problem.
And that's something somebody could handle themselves, replacing the brushes.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty easy. Our edgers, they pretty much have the brushes located on the side of the machines, on the side of the motor housing, and they're pretty easily accessible. So,
So wouldn't that be a good idea to carry, just have an extra set or two, because you don't want to run out when have it happen at the wrong time. The distributor may not have it in stock, and go through that. That'd be like something that a smart part to have on the side, I would think.
yeah, yeah, and I definitely agree. And I also tell guys that this is basically a wear and tear item. So this is something that you need to expect and look forward to replacing pretty frequently. So it is something that they can do, definitely. So it is pretty easy.
Hey,
Now,
Careen, I got a question.
Wait. He was he was getting ready to expound on that.
Okay.
I heard it with my normal ears.
Oh,
so basically, one thing I do let guys know that if they are going through brushes quicker than normal, then they have a deeper issue going on. So in a situation like that, I had one guy come in. He told me that he ran through a set of brushes. He put another set in and he ran through those pretty quick. So he brought the machine to me. When he brought it to me, I pulled the brushes out and first thing I noticed is they were wearing unevenly. So that prompted me to check his armature. Once I checked his armature, I saw that the armature was shot. So one thing I try to let these guys know that is if you are running through brushes quicker than normal, then you most likely need a new armature in that machine. And once you get that done, it'll go back to normal and operate like it should. So,
got to blow the edges out too, right? Would that dust cause that premature wear on the armature?
well, the motors are they're pretty sealed. They're sealed pretty good. So you don't get a lot of dust inside of the motors. Now, inside the compartments where the dust go, then yes, I do have suggested guys blow those out as well. The the bottom of the edger, go ahead and blow up inside of there where the dust will go through and collect and stuff like that. And just give it a good overall, like Mike used to say, a good air bath, you know, and just blow it all off and get all the as much dust as you can out of it.
Nice. Thank you. How's a guy knowing his bearings going? I hear some guys talking about they can hear it, they can feel it, they'll see chatter. What are some of the signs that your bearings are running out?
The number one sign is going to be the pitch of the machine. So if you listen to your machine, if you're used to listening to your machine and you know how your machine sounds because you've used it frequently, then you would definitely know when there's a change in the sound of the machine. So a lot of times bearings will make noise. They will make excess noise that the machine doesn't normally make. Sometimes they will seize up. And the way you can tell that is, you know, something's not going to turn. The majority of the machines that have those issues, though, like I said, it's normally a sound that you can definitely hear. A lot of times, like I said, they will seize up, but just listening to your machine and you'll definitely be able to tell when bearings go out.
So
Wow. See
what happens
this.
what happens if you keep going with the machine and you don't stop and you just keep going and you don't change the bearings even though you hear these warning signs?
You can get for on the big sanders, for instance, you'll get chatter on the floor,
Okay.
and it is something you won't even be able to get out with the machine.
Okay.
Um, Now with the edger, it's not really going to affect the performance of the machine unless it seizes up. And if it seizes up, then you're going to snap a belt. So that is the results of neglecting to change your bearings.
How would a guy on a job site, just a quick check to see if your sander, your big machine is set up and tracking properly? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what I do is I normally put the paper on, and I tell guys when they put the paper on, make sure even when they change belts, check your tracking, make sure it's tracking properly. So basically, on the sanders, there is a knob on each machine that controls your tracking. So I will basically show these guys how to do that and basically get them into the habit of checking the tracking each time. And once they do, the machine should run fine for you. So basically, I let them know that and tell them to basically watch the paper as they put it on. If the paper wants to move when they're turning it on, turn it off and just kind of watch it. Just turn it on and turn it off real quick. And you can basically see which way the paper is going to go. Once you start the machine and run it for maybe 3 to 5 seconds, you will see that paper walk if it's going to move anyway. So that's one of the things I do tell guys is to watch that. Just basically pay attention when you turn the machine on, just kind of turn it on, turn it off, watch what the paper's doing. If you need to make an adjustment, make that adjustment, turn it back on, see what it does. And if it's somewhere where you can actually let the machine run and it's not going to move left or right or come off or go into the side of the machine, the belt side of the machine and cut into the chassis, basically I would tell them go ahead and run it and then go ahead and make your adjustments from there. And you will see the paper move as you make those adjustments. So it's a pretty simple process, but you'll be surprised on how many guys don't know that information.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of the sides of the housing you see that are like you can tell the paper's been hitting the side of the housing pretty aggressively. That's pretty good indication that some of you're off there.
You know, one of the great parts about the power drive and the FlexiSand buffer, I think, is that little button on the top of the handle that adjusts the handle, you know, high and low. I mean, that is just one of the easiest things in the world to use. And it comes with like a shock to do that. How do you maintain that shock? Do you grease that shock, or is there something that guys can pay attention to so that always works perfectly?
Really, there is no maintenance you can do on the shock itself. You just basically play it by ear, so to speak. If the handle will not stay in place, then that's a good indication. That's a good indication that the shock is most likely bad, or it could be the release kit. So in a situation like that, when guys call me up and tell me that the handle creeps down on them, a lot of times I would ask them to do a certain test on the shock itself. And this particular test that I have these guys run will tell you if the shock is actually bad or if it's actually the release kit. A lot of guys automatically assume that if the handle doesn't stay up, it's automatically the shock. And it's not necessarily that majority of the time. Sometimes it's the release kit. So basically, one of the things guys can do to try to see if the shock is actually bad or not, I will tell guys to take the shock off the machine and fully collapse it. So what they would do is there at the top of the shock on the shaft, there's a threaded section at the top, and above that there's a button. So the release kit actually pushes on this button, which is allows the shock to expand. So I tell them to take this shock off the machine, collapse it by pressing that shock on the table, collapse it, and reinstall the shock. And once they reinstall the shock, I tell them to turn it until they start feeling tension. Once they or resistance, excuse me. Once they start feeling resistance, and once they start feeling resistance, they should start seeing the shock slowly expand. Once you see that start to expand, you want to turn that back one full revolution and it should stop. And that's basically how you will reset the shock. And then I would tell them to put it back on the machine and see what happens. If that does not work and the handle still does not want to go or does not want to stay in place, Then I would tell them to remove the shock again, collapse it, and just lay it on the bench and walk away for a couple of minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, and do something else and come back to it. If they come back to it and the shock has expanded on its own, that's a good indication that the shock is bad. The release kit is good. Now, if they come back to that shock and it's still collapsed, then the release kit is most likely or is the problem. So that way they would know which is actually.
So the release kit you're saying is that center button on the top of the handle?
Yep. So that button is actually connected to a line that goes down to a plunger, basically. It's a mechanism that has a plunger in it. So when you push that button, it actually pushes down as well through the pressure from the hydraulic fluid, and it pushes that pin in, which allows the shock to compress or expand. And so that is not refillable. I've gotten that question a lot. You know, can we refill it? It's like, no. They come that way. Once they're bad, they're bad. You know, so that's a good indication right there. And
I can't believe we waited this long to have you on, Careen. I mean, Rob said you stutter really bad when I said we should have Careen on. Oh, I mean, this is great information. We should have done this a lot earlier. This has been a great help.
Can we just back up? Wait. Can we back up a little bit? I heard you whisper, "What a dumb question."
It was a dumb question.
Now the guy just did 10 minutes
because he saved
on
you.
The exact thing that I talked about.
He saved you.
Anybody who's had that slow thing sometimes with shock, now we all know. Okay?
Yeah.
Dumb question. Come on, say
it. He saved you. He realized how weak it was.
I accept your apology. Apology accepted.
Listen, this is coming from a guy who I was in, and I'm not making this up. I was in a nice hotel the other day, and I turned the shower on, and water wouldn't come on. You know, it would come down, but the shower wouldn't work. And I almost ripped that thing off the wall. And finally, I called the guy. I go, "What's stupid? It doesn't work." So he came up there, and you know the bottom of the thing, he just pressed it down, and all the water came out. I never seen. Why would they even put that in a hotel like that? That's like unusual. You know what I mean?
Right. Everybody wants some new technology going on.
Yeah, I'd apologize to the guy, everything I said to him and everything. But
we're not done with Careen, man. Careen, we gotta have you on again.
Yes.
I still got
I would love to come back.
Ton of stuff
that
I want to talk about. This has been fantastic, man.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, very much so. Careen, this has been fantastic. Absolutely. Thank you for doing this, man. This has been
and I just want to tell the listeners too. Careen, when did I finally ask you to do the show? What, about a couple hours ago? Right?
Yeah, it was like
3 hours ago. We finally, Careen didn't have a month to prepare for this. He didn't have a week. He didn't even have a day. You killed it, man. Thank you very much. You really did great. I appreciate it.
Glad you guys had me.
We need all the help we get for listeners, man. We pissed off a lot of people. To be honest with you. Rob broke out his song list one time, like what's on his playlist for music, and we lost everybody under 40. We lost. I don't think they're coming back.
Yeah, but we held all the AC/DC fans. We held them all, and Ted Nugent fans. So
all
they stuck with us, all 10 of them. Right.
Yeah.
I would love to come back.
It is no surprise. We probably won't be around much longer. To be quite honest with you. But it's no surprise to me, Careen, because I hear nothing but great things about you. When I travel around different distributors, they have a machine guy there, and they go, "Man, I talked to Careen, and I haven't met him yet, but every time I had a question, he answered and helped us out, man." So you're a great asset to Bona. So it's great having you on the team, man. There's a lot of people that make up this team at Bona, a lot of them, and everybody's important. But man, what you do and on your end is hugely important, and we're grateful for it, because also for us in the field, the tech guys that have called you, and you got your work to do, and you get bombarded from questions from the territory managers and whatever. They're trying to help a customer out. You're always gracious. You're always willing to help, and it's very much appreciated.
No problem. Anytime, anything I can do to help. That's what I'm here for.
All right, so this has been another episode of On the Floor with Wayne and Rob and Careen, and please stay tuned for another episode.